I'm Rita. I work at Landing Jobs. I'm a talent acquisition specialist. And what does that actually mean? So I work with recruitment. So I do internal recruitment for Landing's team, both internal and external. And I'm also responsible for culture and engagement internally. Okay, so in a very sneak peek, that's what I do and what I've been keeping my days busy with. But pretty much, I really love tech, so I'm into tech, and I'm very keen into HR as well, and about culture and how organizational culture can leverage performance and engagement. Okay. So I think some of you at least know Landing Jobs. Before we go deeper, I think it's actually a nice platform for us to take a look at, because I know some of you are into tech or into changing to tech. So I'll give you a sneak peek. I could give you a beautiful presentation, but I think it's better if I show you the real masterpiece. Okay, so let's dive into Landing for a bit of time. Okay, so actually, fun fact, we just changed our brand. So we did a rebranding. It was released on the 25th of April. And this is our platform and our updated image. Landing, in a nutshell, we do matchmaking between tech professionals and tech companies, and we do that through technology and through transparency and quality work, I would say. So this is Landing and what we've been working. If you're into tech and want to find a job in a remote setting, Landing is also an option for that. So actually, what you need to do is just to go to jobs, and you can either go to all jobs if you want to be more broad, or if you want just to go to work remote, you can just press it here and you'll find all jobs that we have available in remote conditions. Okay, guys, but I'll leave you that as homework. I would say you can take a look at it afterwards. But this is our platform, and there's no better than having the opportunity to share that with you. Are you seeing my Slack messages? I think you are. Guys, can you? It should be working now. Okay, again, perfect. But now that I have showed you what Landing is, okay, for the next 3 days, our goal is for you to understand what to prefer for you, what you need to prepare before you engage into a recruitment process, okay, or into several recruitment processes, because it requires a bit of work, okay. So finding a job or doing job search is a full-time job, so you can expect some extra work, but we'll go into that. I'll give you some good examples of CVs, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles, okay, so that you can have some best practices to follow upon, and also how to be successful in a remote recruitment process. And after you're selected, because we're going to think positive, how you can take the most out of remote settings, okay, and how you can do the onboarding in the best way possible, fully remote. And then I think there's a lot of space for Q&A. I think that's one of the main goals of us all being here together. So this is an overall agenda. For today, we're going to focus, so first of all, this is how actually the methodology that we like. It's very simple, but when we engage into recruitment processes, there's the before, okay, before you actually send applications, and when you decide that you want to start to find a new job. There's a during. It's when you're already called and you already received that email or phone call saying, let's have a first chat. And then there's the after, which is when you're selected. And for today, we're going to focus on the before. Okay, guys? So how you can prepare in the best way possible. So it's about understanding how to get into that recruitment process that you have always wanted, remote edition. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to find the best job remotely and what to prepare before applying. So how to find the best jobs. So this is the question. So there are a lot of jobs out there, but how do I find the ones that are 100% or more aligned with me, or that are a good fit with me? So first of all, need to understand where to look. So understand your channels, okay? And the first thing is, when you check the right job boards. I could mention 100 job boards, from landing jobs to Indeed, remote jobs even, and all of those, but it depends a lot on the field that you're working in, okay? But I would say that in tech, I would go for these that I mentioned, okay? But when you have the right job board, make sure that you use the right filters, okay? Because remote jobs are by themselves a filter, okay? as I mentioned in the beginning. So make sure that you use the right filters. And by right filters, it's about understanding if these companies are fully remote or partially remote, which is a big difference. So make sure that when you search for the job, you have that clear. You also need to understand if the time differences are considered, okay, which means that there are jobs in which they are 100% asynchronous, which means that you could be anywhere in the world, and it's okay, because you are able to work in different schedules. However, there are some jobs in which you need to be within a specific time zone. Okay, so make sure that that's also clear when you do search and when you get to those jobs. Okay, I would say these are the biggest filters. You can also take a look at visa support, or if you, for instance, are doing an exchange, or if you need to move from one place to the other, not for your job specifically, but you can also see if those companies give you that support. Take a look at, besides these, it's actually very interesting to go and take a look at feedback and rating platforms such as Glassdoor and others, and even specific communities of your field of work, to understand what jobs you could apply for, because having the feedback of people, it's actually the best way, and to get to very interesting companies. And some of the most interesting companies are not the most well-known companies, so this is actually a tip for you to get there. So check all these platforms and communities and blogs to make sure that you get to the companies, or to these remote jobs that you're looking for. And as I mentioned a bit before, don't be obvious in your search, okay? So don't go for of course you can, okay? But when we're looking for a job, we need to make sure that we aim for several directions, okay? So not only for one company, we need to have a lot of plans: plan A, plan B, plan C, and all the alphabet, okay? So don't be obvious in your search. So also consider those bigger companies or more well-known companies, but also go for companies that are not so well known, but they could be an interesting fit, okay? Now you're wondering, but Rita, how should I get to those companies then? So that's a very good question. My suggestion would be, again, communities, but I would also see like referred jobs, because by default, when you have a job, on the side you have similar jobs or related jobs, and those by default don't have the same online exposure, but they have the same kind of search filters applied. Okay, so I would go for those. After you have this, so now you understand what are the companies that you're targeting and applying for. Now you understand how to market yourself. Okay, guys. So it's very important to position yourself in the market, and it's not an easy job, but it's very feasible. Okay, so it's about building your network. So first of all, my advice would be for you, and this is all the things that I'm going to say, these are just from my perspective, okay, guys? So I would get in touch with current employees from the companies that you're applying for, okay? So check how many people they have, how many people they have in the roles that you would like to apply for, and even send them a LinkedIn request, or in other platforms in case you have the chance to meet them, and send them a request or even a message saying, I'm applying for that position, can you share a bit of how has been your experience working at X company? And that's very, I think, first of all, that marks yourself, and it's also a very, very accurate source of information, okay, of feedback. Besides this, you should also follow the social media channels of these companies. This seems very, very obvious, but actually they have a LinkedIn profile. They must have a Facebook page, also an Instagram. Instagram tends to work very well in terms of culture and recruitment. It does, except if it's a B2B company, a B2C company, so they could consider it as a sales channel. But besides those situations, it works very well. So follow them and engage with them in those social media channels. You can either share, you can either post, you can either comment, or even if you're not comfortable because you're shy or you don't want to make a lot of buzz around that, you can even just like and follow some of their online movements and activities. Okay, so I think that's very important because they'll get a notion that you're there and that you're interested in what you're doing. So this is what we call the initial part of the recruitment funnel in a recruitment perspective. Okay, and make sure that you get creative while doing it. So this is my biggest advice in terms of how to market yourself. Get creative and make sure that you differentiate yourself from the rest of the crowd. Okay, and it's not easy to find a job. We all know that. And in my opinion, it requires an action plan. Okay, guys? So it's important for you to have an action plan and actually to have a literal action plan, like an Excel spreadsheet. You can do it in Excel, you can do it in Word. I'm an Excel kind of girl, so I would advise you to do so. But to have just one folder, one Excel in which you can manage all the recruitment processes that you are engaged in, okay? Or that you want to apply for, that you have applied for, and all of that, okay? So what to include in this plan or in this spreadsheet? So you can include the company type because you can either target a bigger company like a corporate or a scale up, or you can target a smaller medium enterprise, or you can target a startup, or you can target a consultancy company. So that allows you to actually do some to understand what you're targeting, okay? And then the type of roles, okay, guys? So the type of roles is because you can have more than one interest, and that's fine. So it's also important that that you have the type of roles there, because you can apply for more than one job in one company, or you are applying for several and then you don't remember to which job you have applied. So you have everything written there. Okay, then the role itself, because it's important for you to understand actually the role, okay, the name. It's a very small thing, but it has an impact, okay? And then, of course, have the link to the job ad, because you want to understand where you got that application from, and also to have a lot of information on your end, the industry, the level of preference, because you can have priorities, of course. We all have companies that we would like to work for more than for others, and that's fine. It's a matter of priorities, okay? And also have deadlines. So I'm going to contact that company until that date, or I'm going to send them a follow-up until that date, which is related with the actions here, okay? And then leave comments if you have questions. These comments are good for you to bring questions to interviews that you might have, okay? And of course, related with this action plan, remember how to track it, okay? So have a status space/cell in which you'd say, I have sent an application, I have been rejected, or I am moving forward, or I'm having the first interview, or I'm having a technical challenge, and all of that. So it's good. And also define KPIs, not KPIs in the usual or the regular sense of it, but more as guidelines of behaviors. So you want to send at least 20 or 15 applications per week, and you have that minimum number that you know that you need to reach. And also the number of interviews that you would like to see scheduled, or the number of follow-up emails that you have sent because you're very interested, okay? So these are some of the metrics that you can take into account, and that could make you have a consistent work on how you do recruitment. Okay, attention, one important thing, which is some things are out of our control, and recruitment is one of those things. Okay, so you're doing your best. It's okay if you don't reach all those KPIs or guidelines in the timeline that you have established, but do your best. Okay. So this is an exercise that I would advise you to do afterwards, to build your Excel spreadsheet and to organize your recruitment processes. Okay. Just a more a high level slide here for you to understand that in recruitment, and as a recruiter, and when I interview people, and I have interviewed people since, from tech jobs to sales to marketing to data and all of that, because we're growing a lot, luckily. But it's about building these two things, or showing trust, okay, especially because you're going to work remote. So you really want to showcase that you are good at working from a distance, and that they can trust you even if you're not on their side. Okay, and also the quality of your work, or quality work. Okay, so make sure that you have this in mind when preparing for a recruitment process to join. Okay, so this is what employers are looking for. So when you start engaging into this stuff of recruitment processes and selection, you need to prepare four main things. Okay, so but CV, it's for me the most important one. Okay, and then the cover letter, which is a very, very important complement to the CV. And then LinkedIn profile, which makes you have an online presence. And there's this saying, which is if it's not in the internet, it doesn't exist. So in terms of recruitment, it's the same. Okay, so bear that in mind. And for some jobs, it's about portfolio. I'm not going to dive into portfolios because it depends a lot. Okay, and it's for more specific roles. If you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot them afterwards. I'll also give you my email. So if I can help with more portfolio related questions afterwards, let me know. But for now, we're going to focus on the three first ones that I mentioned to you, okay? So CV. Now you wonder why it's important to have a good CV, and you feel like, Peter, that's common sense. First of all, in recruitment, either from the recruiter side or the candidate side, there's no such thing as common sense. So if you have a question, if you don't know what if you don't know if it's clear or not, just ask, and if that's 100% okay, because we're going to do the same on the recruiter side. Okay, but going back to the why is it important to have a good CV, it's a chance for you to emphasize your strengths and downplay your weaknesses. Your CV plays a huge role in whether you want to be interviewed or not. Okay, because that's the first tool that I'm going to have. I'm myself as a recruiter, okay, guys. So that a recruiter is going to have to assess your profile and to understand if there's a fit or not with the position that we're considering. Okay, so make sure that you pay a lot of attention to your CV. Tomorrow we're going to check good examples or best practices of CV, in my opinion. But I'll give you some tips here as well. Okay. So when building a CV, I'm not sure if you guys know these numbers, but about a recruiter or a person that checks a CV takes from 20 to 30 seconds to assess a CV and not take a look at it again. Okay, so that's very short. Okay, so that's not even a minute, and you have put a lot of effort in your CV, more than 30 seconds, I bet. So you want to make sure that the effort that you put translates or gives all the visibility that you have on your work. Okay, so make sure that when you have a LinkedIn, that when you have a CV, that you choose a clear layout. Okay, so make sure that it's clear, make sure that it has clear sentences and clear information, that all the sections are well built, and make sure that it's concise. Okay, and when we mean by concise, it's your CV shouldn't have more than one page. Okay, I know it's hard sometimes to justify some of the projects that we've been doing in that course that we did, in that in that job that we were so good at. I know it's hard to summarize it, but make it concise. So try to keep it short and try to use short sentences and important and relevant information. And there's one thing that is sometimes a bit difficult, which is to understand what info should I include or not. So think of, as a recruiter myself, I don't want you to understand everything about you from your CV, because I want to have the chance to have a first talk with you and to have the curiosity to jump on a call and understand. So you worked there and you did that, but can you explain me a bit more? And that's the feeling that you want to create towards a recruiter. Okay, so make it concise and don't show all the information that or don't share all the information about that job you took, or about that course you made, or about that volunteering experience, for instance. Okay, so make sure that you leave some space for the interview, and keep it up to date. And I know, guys, this is some of you might think it's common sense, but we often receive a lot of CVs that are not up to date. Okay, so make sure they're up to date in terms of education, they're up to date in terms of work experience, in terms of motivation, in terms of skills. So make sure that when you send it, you double check it, okay? And you make sure that it's up to date. And sometimes we have a lot of CVs in our computers, in our drives, in our desktops. Make sure that you send the right one, okay? That's also important. Make it occurrence, okay, guys? So what does this mean? So it should showcase your real skills. And I know you have done that exercise yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Jeanette told me that's a great exercise to do, like a list of all your skills. Remember, guys, make sure that you don't mention skills there that you actually don't have, or that you don't feel that you are professionally proficient. Sorry for the redundancy, but that you're not proficient, because you're going to create false expectations towards the other side and the recruiter and the hiring managers. So it's better if you keep it accurate and true to yourself, okay? It will be better for everyone, okay? And make it tailored. So if you can, just tailor it to the position, okay? And when I mean tailored for the position, is that there are two things. So your CV and the job ads that we have for this position, or for this position that you're applying for. So make sure that you highlight the skills that are related with the main requirements of the job. Because if I, as a recruiter, take a look at it and I understand that there's a great fit in it, I want to call you and I want to send you an email for first talk, okay? So make sure that you tailor that to the main requirements of each position that you apply for, okay? This requires extra work, but it shows there are studies that shows that this increases the likelihood of getting a first interview, okay? And then format is key. Just make sure that you have everything in English, and in English, don't have two languages in the same document, okay? Make sure that you have everything in the same font, same type of letter and all of that, same color, so that it's easier to understand, it's easier to be sent throughout multiple stakeholders within a company, okay? So these are my biggest advices regarding a good CV, okay, good curriculum. Then after CV, we have the cover letter. And I know a lot of people, and before I started working, I used to feel the same, that, okay, it's a cover letter, it's not needed, no one is going to read it, and yeah, it's not worth to make it. And now I tell you, it's the opposite, okay? So every time you can, write a proper cover letter, okay? And you mentioned, but Rita, why is it important? It's very important because there are some things that we cannot justify in our CV, okay? Because it doesn't make sense for us to write a paragraph about it in our CV, because otherwise it would be more than one page, and we don't want that. So the cover letter, it's actually a great complement to your CV, because it can justify a lot of things that you cannot explain extensively in your CV, okay? So I'll give you an example. So if you don't have linear background, or if you have made a lateral move in terms of background or path, people that I know that some of you are now coming from business to tech and all of that. So a cover letter, it's actually a great tool for you to explain why did you decided to make that change, okay? And why do you feel that job will allow you, or that job will allow you to pursue that curiosity of yours of joining a new field of work, okay, guys? So this is just an example. Or for instance, there are a lot of people that have taken gap years, or that have taken a break from work and have been volunteering and all of that. And a cover letter, it allows you to explain that, and to make sure that you add the value of that experience, not professional experience, but of that experience to your profile, or to your personal value proposition, and to your personal branding, okay? So it's a very, very important tool. It's sometimes hard to build it accordingly. So I'll give you some tips here, which is, if you can, address the letter to the person responsible for the recruitment process, okay? And this is hard, because we don't know who's on the other side of the apply button on a job board, okay? So address, if you can, do some search, especially on LinkedIn, like talent acquisition specialist, or recruitment manager, or the person that you know, because they have that you know that it's involved in the recruitment process, because you know they have done a comment or a post on their LinkedIn, okay? So try to do some stalking work here, and understand who's the person on the other side, because if you can address directly to that person, that's perfect, okay? Find the right tone, okay? Sometimes it's not easy to actually, it's not easy to understand, okay, should I keep it informal, should I keep it formal, should I use more expensive words or more fancy words, such as dear, or excellent, or madam, or miss, or things like that. So in my advice, it's about understanding. Again, the social media work is very important, because you understand what's the tone of voice, and understand and align the tone of voice with the one on the company on the other side. And make sure that you have a part there in which you write why this job is the next step, or the right move for you to take for your career, okay? So make sure that you have at least one paragraph in which you explain it there, okay? Keep it simple and clear. Don't make it a novel about your life, okay? That's a whole new world to dive in afterwards, but it's about keeping it simple. So in my advice would be to have half a page, okay, of cover letter. And that's why we have the keywords here. So please make it tailored, and by tailored means that you need to address the name of the company and the name of the function at least once, or the role at least once, because I need to understand that you're not sending the same letter to every recruiter that you see, okay, or that you contact. And then make it informal, at least in a tech setting, or in a more remote savvy environment. I would say this is the best approach, because by default these companies are informal. Make it clear, okay? So don't take a lot of rounds to get to that point. So be straightforward and make it short. Again, half a page, it's perfect, okay? And then the last but not least, it's the LinkedIn profile, which is about how you are positioned and in the online, okay? So why is it important for you to have a LinkedIn profile? Because I'm not sure if you're into recruitment, like as a position, but pretty much as a position, or as a potential job for you. But pretty much there are two sources of talent, or to get to people. So you can have reactive talent, which are people that directly apply to jobs. Okay, so you'll find an application on a job board, or directly on a careers page. But you also have proactive search, okay, or proactive applications. And proactive applications are the ones generated by the recruiters. So we go after the people, okay? And we call it sourcing or headhunting. There are a lot of words for it. But it's important that you have a LinkedIn profile because 87% of the recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates, okay? So make sure that first you're on LinkedIn, and secondly, that you have a proper LinkedIn profile, okay? So that's why I say here, make it count. And when I say make it count, it's about using all the space or all the resources that you have on LinkedIn, okay? LinkedIn, it's a great tool because you don't have the one-page limits, okay? So you can go all out there, but now being honest, so you have a lot of space to personalize and customize and to leave your value proposition there, okay? So you have a tagline, you have a summary, like an overall profile summary, you have a summary for each position that you have made, you have recommendations, you have skills and all of that. So endorsements and even the likes and other spaces that you have in the bottom, these are very relevant, and that showcase the type of person that you are and the type of professional that you are or that you want to be, or the kind of companies that you want to engage with. So make sure that you use all these tools or all these features of your LinkedIn profile to make it count and to make it shine, as I say over there, and make it personal, okay? So there are a lot of things online about having a good summary on LinkedIn, about a good summary for a business development position, for instance, or a developer. And those summaries are very valid, but don't copy paste them, just adjust them to your reality and personalize them, okay? Ask for recommendations, and that's a section in the bottom because they work as a reference checking network and it works very well. So please just ask people that have worked with you, studied with you, that were your clients, or that were his clients or her or their clients, and your manager or previous managers. So ask for recommendations, and that's very good, okay? And use the right photos and even the right cover image as well. So make it aligned with what you're looking for, okay? So don't have more than one person in the picture. If you have a more informal photo, make sure that it can be informal but in a white background or more clean background, but use the right photo because actually that has a high impact in the overall notion that we're going to have about the candidate in front of us, okay? And I'm almost done, guys, so I hope you're still there. I have just some extra tips and tricks, okay, and how you can better position yourself online, because you're going to do all your recruitment process online. So first of all, make sure that you're present, okay? So make sure that you have a LinkedIn, that you're present in online communities, in forums, in all the GitHubs and Stack Overflows and Reddit of life, or within each a lot of areas there are several communities that work, okay? You can decide to start your own channel if you don't want to engage, or if you want to complement those community engagements with your own projects. You can start a blog, you can start a podcast, you can go to meetups. And a lot of people ask me, but Rita, meetups are face-to-face? No, there are several events, online events, in which you can do networking. So it's just a matter of doing a bit of research. Actually, if you want to take a look at landing jobs, we have a lot of events going on under that format. And if you want to, you can contribute to open source or create a side project. Especially for people that are coming from not so linear backgrounds, okay, that want to apply to a different kind of position. My recommendation would be to create a side project, because you might not have a piece of work from previous companies that you have worked as a reference, but you have some kind of experiment to show to the companies that you're applying for, and that's a very, very good strategy of showcasing your work. Okay, so create a side project and just showcase them to your to your recruiters or the people that you engage with throughout the recruitment processes. And first of all, it's about being present. So you need to have to be online, and it's about showing your work. And there are several ways to do it, and these are just some.